Hi, everyone. Sarah here with the CEO of MyPwr LTD and manager of VPAC again. I am so excited to be the one to introduce Judith Siddiqman. She is a friend of mine, but also she is a supporter of VPAC, the founder of VPAC, and she is an investor of MyPwr LTD. She is a good friend and somebody who inspires me because truthfully, she cares about changing the world when it comes to violence prevention. And she is very fearless in the way that she goes about it. It's an inspiration to me. I've watched over the years as she's created countless opportunities for people through her generosity and tenacity to bring violence prevention and ESD all over the world. So it is my honor to get to introduce her and be with her today as she is talking about a really exciting new product and also a new company that she is working on. But first, just a little bit about Judith. Judith is a co-founder of LTD. She is also currently their board president and was their CEO formerly. She is the president of ESD Global, and she is currently the CEO of MyPwr. Judith has an MBA, and she, like I said, she's CEO of MyPwr LTD in Israel, a high-tech startup company clearly developing an app to teach empowerment self-defense. Judith is a social entrepreneur who spent 20 years creating, supporting empowerment self-defense and violence prevention education with the goal of building accessible programs around the world. So we're excited to have her. Thank you for joining us, Judith.
Hi, everybody. I'm the two caveats before I start. One, I'm not quite sure fearless is a good definition of me. I'm scared shitless all the time. But
you do it anyway.
But I do it anyway.
There's the difference. Which, you know, brings me back to the day I stepped on the mat for a judo the first time I stepped on the mat for a judo competition. Yeah, you can't say there was no fear. There was lots of fear. But you get into it, you do what you got to do, you get out, and either you won or you learn something. And that's become a very big motto in my life. So thank you, Sarah, for introducing me. And I'm feeling not less prepared, but I forgot how exhausting it is to run after a 21-month-old because I haven't done it in a couple of decades. And this week I've been on full grandson duty as my daughter went to have my my fourth grandchild, my first granddaughter. And so this week has been a little harrowing, but I'm thrilled to be here. And with that, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to walk through what's going on here. So I think I do this, and this, and this. Nope, except I want to go to the first slide. Silly. Sorry, guys. There we go. Okay. So during at the very beginning of COVID and everybody was scurrying around trying to figure out how the heck they were going to continue teaching, we knew we had to figure out how to be able to deliver empowerment self-defense in a different format than we were used to. And I don't think any of us could argue that in-person training is the best. Yes, it is. It's not accessible to enough people. It isn't accessible. It isn't accessible to enough people, and there aren't enough people teaching it worldwide in order for it to be accessible in the way it needs to be. So how do we get there? And 6 months into COVID, we got the news, which wasn't actually news to most of us, that domestic violence was skyrocketing. For everyone in the field, that was not an aha moment. That was a duh moment. Of course it was. And of course it was going to be.
which made the necessity to put empowerment self-defense into the hands of everyone much more acute. And so we have been, since May 2020, we have been going down that rabbit hole and figuring out all of the pieces that need to happen. So let me tell you a little bit about it. Yeah, we all know the problem. The problem, violence is the problem. And you can define that in so many different ways, but the reality is that there's this underlying intrinsic message that violence pays off, that has to change on a very, very cellular level, because we see over and over again how there is no justice and there is no true repercussions for violence. So what if we focus on the solution, and the solution being giving people the skills to navigate violence as it's developing, to recognize it. Oh, wow, that person stepped over my boundary line and they did it again. And I explained it to them. The third time, I'm going to make a decision about how this relationship's going to continue or not. So the MyPwr app is focused on giving people the ability to practice figuring out their boundaries, what they want and how they want. That being said, the app is delivering empowerment self-defense and which is the most effective violence prevention protocol available in an interactive multimedia AI-driven mobile app. And this is actually super exciting. So a little bit going in now, this is a taste of, because we're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. And just so you know who the players are in this, LLEV is the organization that I was co-founder of back in 2003. And we have been doing empowerment self-defense work for the last 18 years, very successfully in Israel, and have started this process of building safer communities. Our app development team is CPART, which is an amazing company that has a real social heart to them. They only take projects that they see as changing the world for better. Mood Night is our experts in building community, and to the point where at this point in time, 1 in 3 teenage girls participate in the Mood Night online program called the online community called For Girls. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. And our magic man of everything media over at Rapid Fire Consulting. So we're excited to have them working on this. So we have a narrator. So you're gonna get a little bit of a taste of what it feels like to go through a class. This is specifically lesson 2. So you've got a narrator who is checks in with you at the beginning of each lesson and does a checkout with you at the end. Welcome back. Your body has the ability to tell you when something isn't okay. In this lesson, the traffic light is going to help you to listen to the instincts that you already have. The traffic light helps you identify levels of danger. You got this, let's go. So some sort of encouragement getting into it. And you're going to see some corrections here because, well, wait a minute, you know what? If we're now showing them the empowering affirmation, maybe that should be a green light and not a red light. So that's now going to be a discussion the team and I have, because this was the first time I got to see these wireframes. So we start each lesson with some sort of empowering affirmation, which we encourage the user to say 5 times, because the first time you say it, you definitely don't believe it. The hope is by the time you get to the 5th time saying it, you're going to believe it, or at least believe it enough to be able to say it again in a way where you can now take some ownership over it. So I have the ability to make my own choices, and I listen to my inner voice. Great. Now we're going to teach you how to do that. So there we go. Good to go. And if 5 isn't enough for them, they didn't like the way they were feeling it or saying it, they get to do it again. The goal of the app is to give the user choice every step of the way. Do you want to move forward? Do you want to do it again? Do you want to go and do back to balance? Do you want to stay here? And I think that's a huge part of the process. It ties in with LLM's belief in helping that the greatest thing we can do is empower our students to choose and to feel comfortable choosing. So the LLM self-defense course, empowerment self-defense course, is actually called Freedom to Choose. And that's the skill that we hope everybody comes out with. The freedom to choose what feels right for them, what they want to do, how they want to step forward into the world. So there's going to be a bit of talking in reading going on in the app. So everybody does self-defense differently. It is also true that, and they tried to correct a spelling mistake that they thought was, but it wasn't. It really should be. It is also true that every body, every human body, every body, not just everybody, does self-defense differently. My body hurts when I use my shoulder too high. It just does. So I'm going to have to figure out what skills work right for my body. And that's a process that we bring everybody through. We then have a warm-up, and the lessons are kind of built like Lego. So there's an empowering affirmation, and then there's a warm-up, and then there are the exercises, and in the exercises there may be a game or two, and there will be physical skills that you can practice. And then at the end, the other 2 pieces are a success story and a did you know, some sort of myth and fact piece before the class closes out. So this warm up in particular in lesson 2 is talking to you about getting into your safety stance. So what does that mean to be in a safety stance? How do we bring that strong foot forward and feel the weight evenly between them? We talk through it, and hopefully they will become more comfortable with doing it. They will get lots of practice in this. In our physical skills, the goal is to see it done. So they see it done full speed. They see it done slowed down with a narrator explaining what's happening and what are the important points. And then they see it again full speed. During the class, as they're doing the physical skills, 1, they get to practice it as much as they want. And 2, they have the opportunity to record themselves doing the skill and then watch it played back at the same time as the instructor, so that they can assess, did I do it like the instructor did, right? Did I do it fast enough? Did I do it strong enough? Did I yell loud enough? Can I get a little closer to how she looks as she's showing me what we're supposed to be getting towards? And hopefully that process will be a good one. Wait, hold on a second. Okay. We unpack. We unpack a lot in the app. Because what we've found in our classes is people carry with them a lot of stereotypes, myths, fairy tales, wives' tales, whatever you want to call them, things that they've learned that don't necessarily serve them. So I can only imagine, of all the people on this call right now, the majority of us have at one time or another in our lives said, am I making a big deal out of nothing? And the reality is that you'll never know if you walk away from what seems like a little deal, that it actually wasn't a big deal that just didn't get to play out. Because you don't get to compare the end of the story with the decision you made. Well, what if I made a different decision? We don't get to do that in life. And one of the things we try to help people understand is whether or not you're walking away from an opportunity. If you feel like you need to walk away, better to walk away and miss the opportunity. But if something's telling you there's something not right here, trust that. Trust that. You want to reassess it. You want to go back. You want to, do a little more research on this person and the relationship. You want to call it out and say, hey, right now I'm not feeling okay with what's going on, but I'm going to step away and, let's talk again next week. Okay. Good person. That actually might be just what is needed, and they will respect that. And not so good person might try to force you into staying and not making a big deal out of it. And by having that communication, you've learned something about the process, and about that relationship and the direction it's going in. But when we talk, better safe than sorry. Yeah. And better safe. I want to stay within my safety zone. I want to stay in a place where I'm not feeling that I'm taking a chance, unless it's a chance that I feel is worth taking. And that's where the choice comes in. So the more we practice choosing, this feels okay, this doesn't feel okay, this feels sort of okay, the better chance we have of using those exact same skills when we are in a live situation. Stop it. Okay. Did you know? I can't see the top of the screen, so it's bugging me, but it's all right. Sorry. And this is the did you know piece that comes in towards the end of the class. Did you know, compared with women who didn't take a sexual assault risk reduction program, participants who did this course reported more sexual assertiveness, greater self protective behavior, more likely to use both physical skills, physical and verbal self-defense skills, less blame, more likely to hold perpetrators responsible, and the research from where that came from, so that we are giving research-based knowledge to people, and then some sort of success stories. Because as those of us on the call who have taught self-defense before, that there are success stories all the time. So I promise you these won't be yoga pictures, but at the moment we haven't replaced the pictures yet. One of the important places to be in the app is the Back to Balance room. In the Back to Balance room, and during the courses, there are suggestions when to use Back to Balance. Back to Balance are a series of grounding practices that help the user get back to balance, to ground, and be able to. This topic is triggering. This topic is difficult. Some of the scenarios are complicated and scary. And yes, it's a scenario. And yes, you have the control of stopping it or, putting it in its place by the use of the game. And still, we have how to help people stay within their window of tolerance, because we all know that being able to stay that happy balance between staying inside your window of tolerance and yet pushing your comfort zone just enough so that your comfort zone gets a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, because having a bigger comfort zone is a good thing, is a very important part of the learning process. And no less important for us is the ability to have community. So one of the pieces of the app is a community where as you onboard into the app, you are put into a community who is starting the lessons at the same time. That becomes your core community, your core support circle. And there's support circles. And in that first support circle, there's an ESD person whose job is to answer questions about the actual techniques or help talk through issues of, well, what if? Because we always know there are what ifs. And there's also a peer mentor, and then the rest of the users in the cohort. At the end of the 21-day course, that support circle will go off in a slightly different direction. The ESD person will return to get a new circle, and the rest of the group will be able to move on as a support circle within the community. But they can also pick to join other support circles that are already up and running. So if you happen to be a mental health person who is working in a school system, so hopefully there'll be a support circle just for educators and mental health people. That's where the overlap is there. Or if you're an LGBT, person, and you happen to be a parent and you're living in Chicago, then you will be able to find LGBT parents in Chicago's support circle. And I think that's one of the most exciting pieces of this, to be able to really help people bring this into communities in order to help facilitate that, that building of community. And I just realized that I forgot to click on something. I was supposed to show you this. So we're going to do this quickly, and then we can go to questions. Oh, good God. Can you hear it?
No, the volume is not working.
No volume?
Choose to unshare.
Choose the one.
Choose to unshare and reshare.
Unshare and reshare your screen.
Select share audio.
And then select
Okay,
share audio.
share and reshare. Stop share. Share screen. I'm just going to do the movie. Yes?
Right?
The button on the left hand corner.
They're working?
Share audio.
Well,
Unshare again. And then when you
No.
reshare your screen, click that button in the left-hand corner that says share
Uh,
audio.
Up share. What am I doing? Again?
Click share screen. And there's a checkbox in the left-hand corner.
You're right. You guys
Yes.
told me that yesterday. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, on top of all of this, I got a cold from my grandson.
Oh,
So
no.
it's been okay. Wait, where's the little box? There wasn't a little box. Up share. Share screen. Share sound. Go.
Yeah, that should be it.
Sorry, guys.
Yes.
When I was a kid in science class, I learned about Petri dishes. This flat, little dish is a science tool that creates a special place for bacteria to grow, so we can look at the bacteria under a microscope and learn about them. There is slime on the bottom of a Petri dish. The slime is called the culture, and its job is to provide the right environment for the bacteria to grow in. In a lot of ways, the world is like a Petri dish for people, and the culture we grow in is made of all the things around us. Sometimes, actually too many times, bad bacteria grow in our Petri dish. That is violence. What we mean by violence is things like domestic abuse, child abuse, cyberbullying, as well as hitting, hurting, bullying, harassment, or people using their words to hurt each other. So back to the Petri dish. In a Petri dish, there are two ways to kill bacteria. First, we can use antibiotics to kill them. But the problem is, in order to know the right antibiotic to use, we need to let each bacteria grow strong enough that we can see it and understand what type it is. In other words, doing it this way, in order to stop bad bacteria, violence, it needs to happen first. It's a bit like playing whack-a-mole. The more violence appears, the more we need to identify it and get rid of it. What if there was another way? A way to end the violence before it starts? There is. How, you ask? By changing the culture. This is the second way of stopping bacteria from growing, by creating a bad bacteria-resistant slime. Ending violence means creating a culture where violence cannot grow. We do that by teaching empowerment self-defense and other types of violence prevention. Empowerment self-defense, ESD for short, is a special way of doing things that keeps people safer. People use ESD to protect and defend their bodies, to speak up for themselves, understand that they are strong, and to stay safe in many other ways. And it is even more than that. Practicing ESD creates cultures where boundaries are respected when set, consent is expected, and communication is respectful. Cultures without victim blaming, where everyone knows there is no shame in sharing stories of inappropriate behavior, and where the community supports healthy, safe behavior. To create this violence-resistant culture, we need to change education on every level, layer by layer, from kindergarten to graduate schools. Reach all communities through health clubs and community centers, camps, youth groups, and houses of worship. Bring it to where people work, in companies and stores and organizations. This shift in culture will enable people to work together with less abuse and harassment. And if something does happen, people will learn how to deal with it, find support, and heal in a way that gives them healthier options than continuing to hurt one another and causing more damage. PAVE Prevention, Inc., a social enterprise which guides, trains, and advises companies and communities how to proactively prevent, react, and heal from violence, is poised to create these layers of change. The Association of ESD Professionals is committed to scaling the network of quality and committed instructors for making violence prevention programs accessible worldwide and to growing public awareness of ESD's healing benefits. In these ways, PAVE, the association, and the greater ESD movement are creating communities whose members have been trained to respond, recognize, and report violence. Communities where it is clear violence will not be tolerated. Communities where violence cannot set down roots to fester and grow. Safer communities with violence-resistant cultures.
Okay. just quick on the timeline. Our hope is to have our beta launch on November 25th as the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, and our minimal viable product launch on March 8th for International Women's Day. And if anyone is interested in being a part of the app, if you're an ESD person and you want to be a support circle leader, we are looking for support circle leaders. And if you want to know more about how you can be involved, it would be our absolute pleasure.
Okay, great. Thank you, UD. Are you ready to open to questions?
I am.
Okay, if you have any questions for UD, go ahead and put them in the Q&A, and I will read them to her. Arlene says your actions are fearless. And Samantha, I'm not sure exactly what she was referring to, but said that's the definition of bravery. Congratulations.
Yes, I have a dear friend who keeps reminding me, courage is not the lack of fear, but being afraid and doing it anyway. So that resonates with me a lot more than fearless because there is no lack of fear.
Yeah, let's see what
Overwhelming, because it's huge. It's huge what we're trying to do, and I am so thrilled to see so many of my colleagues in this crazy ESD global sandbox, whatever you want to call it, movement. We've got to fix this process because together, I believe we are superhumanly strong. And I mean, if I could just call out, so what I'm seeing in front of me is Costa Rica, the Czech Republic, the UK, Brazil, of course the US, but we've got California and we've got Canada and we've got Colorado and Pittsburgh and what other, we've got Africa, I've got Kenya, and Albania, and probably a zillion I'm missing. Nigeria might be in here too, but super, super exciting, because I really do believe that working together is the only option.
Mhm. I agree. And I think we can do more and reach more and create more experiences throughout the whole world by working together in collaboration. Heather here, she put a tool that will amplify the impact and exposure truly needed globally. Congratulations on the vision and the investment. Also, Lisa says, thank you, so exciting. Nagi says, thank you, UD. Arlene says, love that, I'm ready to change the culture.
We've got a hand up.
Okay. All right, and yes, Chimezi, if you would like to unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Judith. I'm so happy with that presentation. In fact, I'm just happy. You see, I'm a lecturer in the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, where I have also been able to found an organization that is called Equity Watch Initiative, which is committed to promoting gender equality and empowering women and girls. The explanation was so wonderful to me. I encountered ESD very recently, and I've been following up to see how I can use that to help our students down here. Here, sexual harassment is a very big issue here. As young as my organization is, we keep getting reports every day on sexual harassment. Recently, just last week, there was a case that led to a trauma where a final year student was hospitalized and stayed almost 1 week in the hospital. And one thing we witness here is a kind of impunity where some professors think that, nothing can happen. And, these students keep suffering in their hand. So learning this technique is an eye-opener to me, and I am just reaching out to see how we can use this, because University of Nigeria, where my organization is the first indigenous university in Nigeria. And because of that, we have huge population of staff and students amounting to a series of, harassment and abuse. So I'm so happy and impressed with that presentation, and also for that opportunity of partnership. And I'm looking forward to really seeing how we can begin to address this issue. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. See if there's any other questions that come in. Well, Yuki, thank you so much for sharing. It's really exciting having been part of the journey of seeing MyPwr grow and become what it is. It's really cool to see the PowerPoint and the visualization that's going with it, and to see the progression. Really look forward to the beta testing. Now, if people were interested in being beta testers, what is the best way they can get a hold, or who should they get a hold of?
I'm putting that in the chat right now.
Okay.
You can contact Ari. He's going to be, collecting the list of potential beta testers. The beta testing is a process. First of all, what we want is we want to just assess the 21 lessons. So it's really 22, because there's a welcome lesson. So the welcome and 21 lessons, what we're asking for commitment is to use the app for 30 days and then to answer a questionnaire for feedback within 30 days from when you finish your 30 days. The feedback questionnaire will take approximately 40 minutes to fill in. But what you get for this is the ability to gift the app to an organization you care about, or an institution you care about, or a business you care about, or friends you care about. And that's all spelled out in the beta tester contract agreement. But we're very excited about this. It's scary. It's very scary. I can't even tell you how many sleepless nights I've had worried about, what did I forget? Like, we know what messages are important. My body, my right to decide what happens to it. Sometimes you have to move in order to get away. And when I teach that in an in-person class, it's very easy for me to talk about that once I've let them hit each other with pool noodles. But in an app, I don't have the privilege of pulling out a bag of pool noodles and letting people hit each other. So how do I teach the concept in an app, the importance of moving in to get away? And if I would do it at the beginning of an in-person class, maybe in an app, because I don't have the pool noodles to hit you with, I'm going to have to do it further on, but it has to happen. That's a conversation that has to happen. So the process of figuring out I've been looking at this as kind of like distilling a really good whiskey. It's this process of thinking through everything we say and how we say it in the way that makes the most sense for a digital process. But I don't want to use the word forces, even though I know it is. We are forcing them to make choices. So the way to teach people how to choose is by forcing them to make choices. So yes, it forces people to choose. Is this a yellow situation or an orange situation? And what is the difference? And that's what it feels like to you. And while we could tell you that if you call a green situation a red situation, we'd want you to think about that. Or the opposite, you think a red situation in our books is green for you, then we're going to maybe fill in some knowledge as to why we don't consider it green. It's not that we say you're wrong, bad choice, but that we give you a little more understanding on what's going on. Oh, I didn't see the incursion into my boundary. I didn't see the controlling. I didn't see that there were 3 things that actually happened. I only saw the last thing that happened. I wasn't as aware the first 3 times. So it's a complicated process, but it's really a very intelligent one. And in addition to beta testers, this is a shout out for ESD people. If you would like to be on the team for read through means you get a PDF of the script of the app, and just you don't really get the visuals. All you get is a read through, so that you can hear the language and see what's being talked about and give us some feedback before we lock it all into the pictures and the pretty places that turn it into a cool, fun app. But you can reach out to Ari also about that, and we'll put you, those are called read-throughers.
And also on the sponsor page, MyPwr is a sponsor of the conference. And so there's information on connecting and contacting there as well. So if you need another place to find MyPwr, that would be a great place to find sponsorship. And speaking of sponsors, Pay Prevention has sponsored the speed networking event that has started. So if you want to go to your agenda and join the speed networking event, you'll be able to network with everybody. It's about 30 minutes, and then right after that is an hour lunch. And after the lunch, we have a really awesome creative workshop with Anna Evans and Krista Hanley called The Voice of Truth. So we hope to see you soon.
And fantastic job, Power of XYZ. This has been a real, it feels, I would have liked to be in Prague too.
Yes.
And we will do it one day, I promise. But you've done a really good job of being flexible.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a lot of
As I
fun.
like to say, shift happens.
Yes, we have been very good at shift happens this year. All right. Have a good time in the networking event, everyone.